Alright, next section is how does sex progress while you are still in your mother's uterus? So, we're going to be defining sex in different stages. We're going to be looking at the chromosomal level, the gonadal level, and then finally the phenotypic. Because remember, you begin to develop your sex way before you ever show any kind of phenotypic sex characteristics, even in utero. So there are several things that can influence your genitalia development. So you have the gene interactions. Your chromosomes are chock full of different genes, and not only is it the genes that are on the sex chromosomes, but there are also some autosomal genes that are involved in sex development. So we often emphasize those that are on the Y, but there are autosomal genes involved as well. You can also have intra-embryonic interactions. They're how the different cells are communicating with each other within the embryo can also determine sex. You can have interactions with other embryos. Even if you do not have twins, there's always the possibility that there's more than one embryo at the beginning, and maybe that other embryo gets absorbed or dies and never develops. There are often many cases of several embryos all being formed through one course of action of intercourse, but maybe only one ends up developing, or maybe two. So there are the possibilities that those other embryos, in their struggle to figure out which one develops, they can also influence each other. And then you have interactions with the maternal environment. So you are in the uterus that has all different types of chemical interactions that are happening, that are signals that are coming from mom, or we were talking about, Rh positive and Rh negative interactions with, blood types. There are so many things that can be happening outside of the body that can also affect development. Chemicals that are mutagens, even if it causes no mutations, it can affect sexual development. You have fetal alcohol syndrome. So there's many things that are going on that can affect the development of genitalia, which we then associate with sex. These three here would all be considered environmental influences. So we talked about in the last section that it's not only the genes, the chromosomes, it's also the environment. Many things go into the development. And the consequences of that can be threefold. And this is why we have, we like to put things into nice two different categories. So with all these factors, they can lead to what we consider typical genitalia development. You get the standard secondary sex characteristics, penis and a vagina, but all those interactions could also lead to atypical development. You could have someone actually end up with the opposite of what you would expect. You can have, because of environmental influences, someone who is XX chromosomally could still develop a penis, opposite of what we think of. Or someone who is XY developing a vagina. All of these things are going to come together. So chromosomes play a factor, but all those other influences can actually produce something that is opposite or intermediate. Depending on environmental influences, you could end up with an individual that has both a penis and a vagina, or a combination of a penis and a vagina, or something like an undescended testicle. So now you have one of the gonads is still in the place where an ovary is, and only one of the testicles has descended to the scrotum. That is somewhere intermediate. So many factors are going to go into whether or not You get typical or atypical development. And when I say typical, this doesn't mean it's better or worse. It just means it's the most predominant form that we see in the population.